In this video, we're going to take a snare drum sound and speed it up until it becomes a playable, in-tune instrument. And the idea is that you can take the snare sound, use it as your snare throughout the track, and then at some moment turn it into a snare roll that becomes so fast it's a pitch, and then it's playable in your tune. Let's hear what it sounds like, and then we'll see how to get there. So here's the sound. I have a snare drum sound. If I hold it, I get a roll, and I use the mod wheel to speed it up. And we see we get a playable synth, even with kind of interesting pitch bend stuff in the end. So let's see how we can create this sound in Kontakt. The first thing you need to do is find a snare sound, and I just went into the Kontakt library and found the snare R16. Here, let's hear it. It's going to be a good sound to use. So now I'll go to Files and New Instrument, Kontakt here, and then click on the wrench of that instrument to open it up and edit the instrument itself. The first thing we'll do is go to the mapping editor so we can map this across the entire keyboard. Click and drag the snare sample onto the mapping editor and go to the top of the editor so that it maps it across the entire keyboard and across all the velocities. That'll put the root note at C-2. We would like the root note to be at C2 though. So let's go to the root area and configure it to be C2. That's all we need to do in the mapping editor, so we can close that up. Now go to the wave editor. And here we need to crop the sample down. Now, the challenge of this, it's actually pretty easy sound to make. The challenge is making it in tune when it gets to the top of that ramp. And the tuning of that sound will really be controlled by the loop length. When we start manipulating loop length, though, the percentages you get are percentages of the entire length of the sound file you're using. So if we get a consistent length to our sound file, everything else will work out well in this process. You don't have to go through this. It'll just be harder to tune the sample later when you get it up to pitch. So let's try this out. We're going to go to the sample editor section, and then I'll just make a random selection, and I'll choose my end to be 8,390 samples. Now I found that just by experimentation, by trying this numerous times and seeing what would put it most in tune, and that was a pretty good one. Now you'll find each sound you use is going to be a little different, but we can fine tune it later. So we'll choose 8,390, and then we'll go to crop to make it a consistent length. The other benefit of this is we need to put the entire sample into memory, so by making it a smaller file, we're going to be using less resources of our computer. Now, I noticed this isn't a full volume sample. For this process, it's nice if it's normalized, so we can select everything again and choose normalize. That's all we need to do in the sample editor. Let's go over to the sample loop and engage the first loop. You'll see by default it'll loop the entire sound, which is perfect. And let's hold a note and hear what it sounds like. It'll just keep looping that. Now if I let go, you can have a couple hits as it fades away, and I don't want that. I want it to stop immediately. So let's close up the mapping editor. Let's close up the wave editor and scroll down to the bottom of the rack till we find this volume envelope. And now we're just going to change the release section all the way down to about 1 millisecond. Close is good enough. And now let's hear it. Right when I let go of the key, sound stops. Perfect. Let's scroll back up, and we're going to look at the source section. Right now we're in direct from disk mode, which means the sound is streaming it from the hard drive, and that doesn't give you the option then to change the loop length on the fly. We need to load the entire sound into memory, so we'll put this into sampler mode. That'll load the entire audio file into RAM and give you full access, kind of random access of that sound. So let's go with that. Now we'll click on the mod option. We see we have a modulator, pitch bend, controlling pitch. And if I played this snare drum sound and made pitch bend, we can change pitch. That's nice, but I want to change that loop length. So we're going to add a new modulator. I'll go to this add modulator option, choose external sources, and MIDI CC. By default, it'll be CC1, which is the mod wheel. That's perfect. And this is your default value. We'll leave that at 0. The destination for this modulation, though, should be loop length. So we'll choose that here. Now the modulation amount we'll have to set very carefully to be 99%, and this is so everything ends up in tune when it's at its top of its range. You might find that you can't slide this and get it to exactly 99 unless you hold the shift key on your keyboard while dragging. You get fine control of this and you can get it perfectly to 99%. And there we are. Now let's try this out. I'll hold C3, you'll hear the looping of the sound, and then I'll increase the mod wheel. And we're not getting anything because what it's trying to do is make the loop longer. What we actually have to do is make the loop shorter. Because remember, a shorter loop length is going to increase our pitch. So we'll go to the invert button and enable that, and now try it. And I'll increase mod wheel. We hear the loop speeding up. Fast roll. So we're starting to get there. We need to fine tune it. It's almost right though. The first thing I want to do is actually tune the sample. Make sure that when it's at the very top of its range, it's actually in tune with kind of our reference, the 440A tuning note. So we'll put the mod wheel all the way to the top, and then I'll set my reference tone in Kontakt here to be C3. So if you're not seeing this master section, click on the master button to show it, and then enable your reference tone, adjust it up and down to be C3, and then play C on your keyboard. And it should be pretty close to in tune, but we do see it's beating against that reference tone. So again, if I hold Shift and change the tuning, we can get it so it lines up just right. And now we know that we're perfectly in tune at the top of the range. The next thing I want to do is make this a little smoother motion. I'm noticing as I move this, it's nice in the beginning, it speeds up, but then toward the end, it kind of jumps through those pitches. And I want this to be a really smooth, kind of gradual increase. So we'll go to our MIDI CC option here and click on this, which is going to show our map area, and then make the map active. And this is showing us that as the mod wheel moves, how does it relate to the loop length. And I'm going to choose more of a logarithmic curve. And let's hear how this sounds now. Let's try it again. Much better, really smooth. Now it's still a little grainy, and we can take care of that by increasing lag to around 300. Let's try this. That really smooths out that motion. It's really just interpolating between values, so it's getting all these in-between values, kind of going between the 128 values that are possible with a MIDI CC and the thousands of values that are possible with that loop length. So it's nice to have a little bit of interpolation there. Now I also like to have incredible range of pitch bend. So let's turn this pitch bend area way up, all the way to plus 12 semitones. Let's hear what this sounds like. We can play those nice dramatic glides, but I would like to have even more. And our percentage here only allows us to go to plus 12. So to get a wider range, we actually have to add another pitch bend modulator set the same exact way, and then they'll add together, and we'll get even a wider range. So I'll go to Add Modulator, External Sources, Pitch Bend, have it going to pitch like it is, set lag similarly to the other one, and then turn that all the way up. And now we get the incredible range that we were looking for, which is a 2-octave drop. So by combining both the pitch bend motion and the mod wheel motion now, you can get some really interesting sounds. You can have the basic roll that speeds up. But then you can have those at the end, or by doing them both. That was a pretty cool motion. And you're just getting all those variations of the pitch controlled by changing the loop length and the pitch controlled by the pitch bend. You get a wide variety of timbres, and you can even play it polyphonically, like if I was to play a minor triad. Really cool stuff. So I really like how this sounds, and it ends up perfectly in tune. It's a great patch. Again, any sounds will work, and that's how to do it. So you can easily, now that you have all this modulation set up, you can easily swap out a new sound, crop it down, and all the modulation will be set up and working for you. Enjoy.